think what keeps my brain hooked on business is that it's all one big puzzle, constantly moving but never changing. Same goes for people. They cycle and circle over and over until something finally gives and the momentum sends us slingshotting into the next stage. Similar to before, but with a fresh coat of paint. History doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes, Samuel Clemens? And gaming is like a virus, not a slur this time. I mean that in the biological sense, and the way it reproduces so fast it advances to the next generation at an alarming rate, so it's observable and profitable if you can predict what's coming. Gambling? What? The sexy cousin of statistics that potentially puts out on the first date? Where? Just know that this video is about Sony PlayStation, not because I hate them and love Microsoft Xbox, but because their business moves baffle me right now, and I like that in a woman. PlayStation sits cross-legged on top of the poker table with both their hands in their hoodie pouch and a 1,000-yard stare too cross-eyed for me to read. My muse, I must paint you. Xbox I get, Nintendo I get, you. I feel like I did the math right, PlayStation, but the answer I keep coming back to doesn't look right. Isolationism, captive audience, aggressive budget balancing, it feels so 2017. We now know for certain that PlayStation had a commanding lead over Xbox back in 2016 in all three categories: hardware, software, and cultural impact. The PS4 outsold the Xbone by 2-1, PlayStation had a better lineup of exclusives, and they had a contract with Call of Duty that kept the esports scene locked into PlayStation consoles. The Xbox empire was running low on resources and looking to extend the cross-play olive branch, once for Minecraft and once again for Rocket League. But Sony refused to open the gates to the PlayStation kingdom. The official excuse given by then CEO Jim Ryan was that Xbox curates a library of degeneracy for a clan of lawless undesirables. I took creative liberties there, added a little flair. The type of games and people that PlayStation doesn't want to risk exposing its own player base to. Think of the children. Well, that interview took a funny turn when it was brought out that Nintendo seems to not have a problem with Xbox's player base, and they are perhaps the most mindful video game company of the protection of children. To which Jim Ryan responded, "Yeah, that's true. Everyone has to make their own decisions." And their decision was to tell Xbox, "Go die somewhere that's not my welcome mat, please." Makes sense. Why would you expose your own player base to the competition when you're winning? No, you want disenfranchised Xbox players to convert to the PlayStation ecosystem. That is until a little game called Fortnite became too big to ignore. Xbox, Nintendo, Apple, Epic Games, Steam, virtually every gaming platform came together to push PlayStation under the bus. Shame. Shame. Full-blown crossplay for all is possible, but you're the one holding us back because you want to watch Xbox starve to death. I said, please, what more do you want from me? Crossplay was the future, and PlayStation had to get with the times. But they still held on tight to their exclusives. Every March 24th, I log off of the internet prematurely to avoid going mad from the haunting wails for a game yet remastered and a port never delivered. Whosoever pries Bloodborne away from PlayStation's bone-crushing grip will be crowned the new King of England, I swear. A cultural win was Plan B. The Last of Us, God of War, Ghost of Tsushima, Returnal, Horizon. Meanwhile, Xbox and leaked emails lamented having no real titles to compete with, to the point where Phil Spencer publicly accepted third place in the console space, which was a smart move in a "you may have beat me in the straight, but I'll catch you on the curves" kind of way. Microsoft's strategy was to get a head start on the next Battlefield via cross-play, acquisitions, live service, and cloud gaming. Stuff all the mobile and cloud tech and gaming IP into my mouth so that Sony can't have any of it. Nearly choked trying to open wide enough to swallow Activision Blizzard due to interference from various governments thinking a monopoly was afoot. After some convincing, a little not gonna do that, they got it down, but Sony wasn't intimidated by the throat-goatmanship on display. They were sticking to their own game plan. And that's where we are now. Dropping Helldivers 2, reportedly the game has done gangbusters, 12 million copies sold in 12 weeks, making it the fastest-selling PlayStation-published title ever. Why then all the corpo dickbaggery? They took Helldivers 2 off of the market in over 170 countries due to their stubborn insistence that people needed PlayStation Network accounts to play online. That included PC players who got the game off of Steam. Sony said they'd lift the requirement, but have yet to revert it. You published a runaway success and you're screaming, "Slow down, it's ruining my hair"? That's what's odd. I have a feeling that Sony doesn't want to deal with the long-term cost of operating a live service game as generous as Helldivers 2. Because freeloaders, an endearing term to describe people that play but don't pay in live service games, do put a strain on the budget. Freeloaders are fine for player versus player games because they're the content for paying customers as well as the marketing. One whale may outspend 100 krill, but 100 krill can spread the word about your game farther and wider than one whale. You need both for a healthy ecosystem, so most games rely on the churn of players. New krill replacing old, attracting new whales to replace old whales. Sony doesn't seem to want the churn though. It's as if they again desire an isolated aquarium. Ghost of Tsushima is also on PC, but they need to integrate into the PlayStation Network to play online. It is free, for now. It's easier to raise prices once your audience gets settled in, and it's not an uncommon strategy. For example, a Netflix subscription in 2007 cost $18 a month for 18 hours of streams, but that wasn't too popular, so it went down to $9 for as many hours as you liked. And we've been getting closer to the initial asking price ever since. The customer can see this as price gouging, but from a business perspective, it's a severe undercutting to amass an audience before raising prices back to where they should have been. People always talk about the tricks that games use to keep you locked in, but they're also used to keep out weak customers. From a psychological perspective, raising prices slowly filters out the weak spenders and leaves consumers that are more, tolerant, loyal, cultish, no. Premium membership, that's the one. As funny as it is to joke that console warriors are actually living in the 1984 Orwellian supercontinents of Oceania, Eurasia, and East Asia, I think Sony wants less People's Temple and more of a country club vibe with a clientele that's willing to spend more money for what seems to be a premium service. And in order to do so, the club becomes more exclusive and picky about who it wants in, as well as enforcing strict regulations. PlayStation's the homeowners association that doesn't let you paint the house green with little X's. And I don't feel I'm too far off base that Sony's willing to cut off players that aren't willing to be made profitable through data sharing or raw spending. They've already shown that they followed the numbers when they left Japan because they didn't deem the profits to be enough to warrant a primary focus. And their most recent earnings call speaks to this, stating that they expect a drop in revenue as we get further away from the pandemic spike of 2020, but also anticipate picking things back up within the next fiscal year through a focus on engagement. I guess the reason this feels so strange to me is because it's so bold at a time when various gaming platforms are coming together to set yourself aside as the premium product that you want to opt into. Just like that, they're not chasing an audience, they feel they have it and they're now going to close the gates again, gambling on their confidence that they're going to serve up more culture-defining hits, and that you'll be missing out if you're not locked in. That's my tinfoil hat and tie speculation. In the console game of rock, paper, scissors, Sony's pulling out the trusty old rock again. It's 2017 once more. Sony outsells Xbox by 5-1 on the console front, but Xbox doesn't want to play in the console front, and there's no Fortnite 2 in sight. Who's to say if it works this time? History doesn't repeat itself, but it often blinds. Oh, I know. I'm gonna get some ire from the console kiddies, but before you egg my house, I gotta know. What's a Sony pony? Oh, of all the things. Like, come on, Sony Jabroni was right there. Sony phony? Like, hello? You just don't get it. This is the Sony story of Sony Rigatoni. It's solely Sony aioli. Owes his Sony mama Sony alimony. So he gets on his Sony telephony and calls his Sony homie. You Sony owe me. Sorry, I got laid off the other day. Dang, sorry about that. You know, just pay me whenever you got it, you know. So he sells his only pony, his Sony pony. And now Sony Rigatoni is Sony lonely.